Since the tragic events of September 11th, 2001, Americans who once thought they were safe from domestic attack now understand that certain forces are seeking to harm the people, symbols, and economy of the United States. Terrorists win if fear prevents Americans from going about their daily activities and way of life. In order to preserve our freedoms, we must be vigilant in protecting our homeland. Recognizing and addressing domestic weaknesses to potential terrorist threats is one way to combat those who seek to do us harm.
The security of our nation's marine transportation system, which includes ports, marine terminals, and intermodal facilities, is a key component of our national security.
Our nation's coastlines consist of 95,000 miles of open shoreline, with over 300 ports. U.S. ports are a vital part of the national and world economy. More than 95% of the volume of goods enter or leave this country by water. Ports that are open and exposed may be targets of large-scale acts of terrorism that could cause a major loss of life or economic disruption. To address this threat, the Maritime Transportation Security Act of 2002 was enacted. It focuses on the prevention of transportation security incidents, or TSIs. A TSI results in a significant loss of life, environmental damage, transportation system disruption, or economic impact. The international maritime community also recognizes the need to ensure the security of waterborne cargo and passengers. The International Maritime Organization, or IMO, has adopted amendments to the International Convention for the Safety of Life at Sea, also known as SOLAS, which contain the new International Ship and Port Facility Security Code. The United States played an important part in creating this new international code to ensure that vessels and ports all over the world provide similar maritime security. In the U.S., the Coast Guard enforces these maritime security regulations, along with other federal, state, and local law enforcement agencies. U.S. Customs and Border Protection, the Transportation Security Administration, and the Bureau of Immigration and Customs Enforcement are agencies within the Department of Homeland Security that have important roles in ensuring maritime security. But the government cannot protect the ports alone. Effective maritime security can only be achieved through a combined effort of government, private industry, and individuals like you. Although security responsibilities might not be your job function, every maritime facility worker has a role to play in the security of our nation's ports.
Your eyes and ears make you an important asset in the war against terrorism. And in order for you to be an effective deterrent to terrorism, it is important that you understand marine facility security and your part in it.
This program will cover information you need to know to help you keep you and our ports safe. You will learn about facility security plans, the meaning and effect of different security levels, the recognition and detection of dangerous substances and devices, the recognition of characteristics and behavioral patterns of persons who are likely to threaten security, and techniques used to avoid security measures. This might sound like a big responsibility, and it is. However, you will see it simply involves using your eyes, ears, and instincts to help strengthen maritime security. The Coast Guard term for that is maritime domain awareness, but we like to think of it as plain old common sense. Whether you are a longshore worker, including a clerk, checker, or maintenance worker, cruise or passenger ship terminal employee, motor carrier, or vendor, this program contains valuable information to help you do your part to preserve our nation's freedoms. We're counting on you. You may be familiar with the Department of Homeland Security's Threat Advisory System, based on a 5-color code, with green being the lowest and red being the highest code for national terror threat alerts.
There have been several instances in the past few years when the threat alert level was raised to orange, indicating the significant risk of a terrorist attack.
At level orange, you might have seen additional patrols at bridges and tunnels, or more law enforcement assets at large public events. Likewise, maritime ports and facilities have a similar system, referred to as Maritime Security Levels, or MARSEC levels.
There are 3 MARSEC levels set by the Coast Guard. These levels are similar to the color-coded Security Threat Advisory System.
MARSEC Level 1 is equivalent to the codes green, blue, and yellow. It is the baseline for maritime security and the measures that must be maintained at all times. MARSEC Level 2 is like Code Orange. At MARSEC Level 2, additional security measures above what is provided at MARSEC Level 1 shall be instituted as a result of a heightened risk of a TSI. MARSEC Level 3 is the highest threat level and like a Code Red, which signifies a probable or imminent threat. Depending on the nature of the threat, you may see a heightened law enforcement or military presence at the port.
Facility operations may be suspended in whole or in part at MARSEC Level 3. You must take any elevation in MARSEC levels very seriously.
And while the Coast Guard communicates any changes in MARSEC levels to the maritime community as a whole, the Facility Security Officer, or FSO, will ensure that the threat level information is communicated throughout the facility, as well as to vessels interfacing with the facility. In addition, at heightened MARSEC levels, the Facility Security Officer will inform facility personnel about identified threats, emphasize reporting procedures, and stress the need for increased vigilance. The current MARSEC level at the facility will be posted on signs at access points or other common locations within the facility. Your job and the facility will determine what you do at the various MARSEC levels. Local security training will provide these instructions.
Coast Guard regulations for maritime security are based on the family of plans idea.
This means that each part of the marine transportation system, ports, vessels, and facilities, may be required to prepare and submit a security plan for review and approval by the Coast Guard. This is seen as the best way to ensure that all critical areas of security are covered within a security plan. A security plan is considered security-sensitive information, or SSI. Access to this information is limited to authorized individuals because disclosure could compromise security.
A facility security plan, or FSP, is required to ensure that appropriate measures are designed to protect the facility, as well as vessels, cargo, and people present.
The Facility Security Plan is a guide to how the facility will comply with and implement security regulations. It is based on a Facility Security Assessment, or FSA. The Facility Security Assessment is an on-scene survey that looks at potential threats and vulnerabilities and their consequences. It also reviews existing security measures, measures to address vulnerabilities, key operations, and critical infrastructure that may be within the facility. Infrastructure refers to the facility's structures, systems, assets, or services vital to a port. The Facility Security Officer is responsible for the development, implementation, revision, and maintenance of the Facility Security Plan. Some of the key areas that must be addressed in an FSP include personnel training, drills and exercises, record keeping, response to changing MARSEC levels, communications, security system maintenance, as well as procedures for facility access control, restricted areas, handling cargo, delivering vessel stores and bunkers, facility monitoring, and incident response. Another requirement of a facility security plan involves procedures for interaction with the vessels that call the facility.
Such vessels will have their own security procedures and requirements.
It is important that facilities and vessels coordinate certain security functions to ensure that there are no gaps. Plans must be reviewed periodically and changes made as required. Access control is the way a facility keeps unauthorized people, vehicles, or vessels away. Measures to ensure access control can include perimeter fencing. Such fencing may be monitored by either surveillance cameras or patrols.
Access is generally gained at limited controlled locations called access points.
Depending on the facility and the type of entry requested, a controlled access point might be a gate that screens vehicles and people. The purpose of access control is to make a would-be terrorist think twice about trying to get a dangerous substance or device into the terminal. A dangerous substance or device is considered any material, substance, or item that reasonably has the potential to cause a TSI. At access points, you will generally go through a screening process. Depending on the MARSEC level, you may only be required to present or scan an identification card, or undergo some form of biometric identification, such as a thumb or retinal scan. In the near future, there may be a National Transportation Worker Identification Credential, or TWIC. In the meantime, it is extremely important that you obtain, display as required by the facility, and carry your ID with you at all times when present on the facility. Depending on the nature of the facility or the MARSEC level in effect, you might be subject to a personal screening. This would be an inspection of you, your vehicle, or any items you bring onto the facility. In addition, you might be required to register your car and park in certain designated areas. Failure to comply with screening requirements will result in denial of entry or revocation of authorization to enter. Your full cooperation with security procedures will help ensure maximum security. There will be procedures for permitting access to visitors, vendors, and service providers. Facilities and vessels will have additional procedures for disembarking and returning seafarers.
Under no circumstances should you allow anyone access to a facility who has not been properly screened and authorized for admittance.
Cruise ship and other passenger terminals will have additional requirements for screening passengers and baggage. At elevated MARSEC levels, access controls will become more intense. Access points may be further limited, and personal, vehicle, and baggage screenings will become more frequent. You may also see an increase of patrols, law enforcement, and other security measures. Restricted areas, as identified in a facility security plan, require limited access and a higher degree of security protection. An entire marine facility may be designated as a restricted area. Depending on the plan, only certain individuals may have access to restricted areas, or there might be enhanced security procedures for accessing restricted areas, such as additional credentials, biometric identification, or special clearances. Restricted areas on a facility will be clearly marked. These areas may include computer and communication centers, power systems, or certain cargo storage areas. Restricted areas will be addressed in your local training. At elevated MARSEC levels, the intensity of security measures for accessing restricted areas will be increased. For longshore workers and other marine personnel who work with cargo, security procedures are of primary importance. Cargo security is provided in cooperation with the facility and vessel operator, and its key goals are to deter tampering, prevent cargo that is not meant for carriage from being accepted and stored at the facility, identify cargo approved for loading onto vessels, and ensure the release of cargo only to the approved entity. Depending on your job, your role in cargo handling security may include performing cargo screening functions or other checks on cargo, cargo transport units, or cargo storage areas. If you come across any cargo that looks as if it has been tampered with or is not appropriately documented, follow your facility procedures for notifying supervision and reporting the matter. If you have reason to suspect the cargo is dangerous or otherwise contains dangerous substances or devices, follow facility procedures for reporting a breach of security or a TSI. If you work in a clerical function and have access to information about cargo or the contents of containers, do not disclose or discuss this information with unauthorized individuals. Certain longshore workers may need to access the moored vessel during cargo operations. Vessel operators are required to control access to their vessels, and while this access control function may be performed in coordination with the marine terminal facility, you may be required to present identification or sign in before you are permitted access to the vessel. It is mandatory that you cooperate with such security measures.
At heightened MARSEC levels, the intensity of procedures for cargo security will be increased, and cargo screenings will become more frequent and intense.
Vessel stores are the supplies the vessel needs for upkeep, maintenance, and operations, as well as the food products for the crew and passengers.
It is important that these items be delivered to vessels in port in a timely manner to ensure that the vessel maintains its schedule. The term bunker refers to the vessel's fuel supply.
The security of vessel stores and bunkers is another area that requires coordination between the vessel operator and the terminal. For vessels that routinely call at a facility, standing arrangements between the vessel and facility may be established for these deliveries. Part of your job may include escorting individuals providing services for the vessel, checking vessel stores or bunker deliveries to make sure they have not been tampered with, or that the delivery matches the order.
Heightened MARSEC levels will require the enhanced intensity of these procedures.
The Facility Security Plan outlines the procedures for facility monitoring, which may include certain lighting specifications, security guards, patrols, automatic intrusion devices, or surveillance equipment. Depending on the facility and the plan, the entire perimeter of the facility, restricted areas, and vessel mooring areas may be continuously monitored. Law enforcement or government agency personnel might perform these functions.
The MARSEC level in effect will determine the intensity and coverage of the required monitoring, which will be enhanced at heightened MARSEC levels.
Incident response can be a critical factor in eliminating or reducing the effects of a TSI, or preventing a breach of security from becoming a TSI. Local training will teach you the specifics of what you should do in the event of a TSI or breach of security. Your facility will have designated procedures for contacting the Coast Guard, law enforcement, emergency personnel, and other necessary responders. Remember, you are not law enforcement. Don't take matters into your own hands. Learn the relevant procedures of the facility's incident response plan. Know what your expected role is in incident response. In the event of a TSI, your role may be to assist in this effort or to evacuate. Be aware of designated evacuation and mustering areas. Ask questions to be sure you know what to do. Being prepared for an emergency can save lives. While the protection of cargo is an important component of maritime security, the protection of people is of utmost importance. At all MARSEC levels, passenger and ferry facility terminal employees, depending on their jobs, may be required to assist in the screening of passengers and personal effects.
Also, your job responsibilities may involve screening vehicles or to help keep restricted areas secure. These functions will be increased when MARSEC levels are raised.
Cruise ship terminals, like airports, present challenges to those responsible for security. Most cruise ship terminals are utilizing passenger and baggage screening systems that we have become familiar with at airports. Your job may include assisting with baggage at a cruise ship terminal or delivering ship stores to the vessel. Local training will teach you about the procedures necessary to ensure the security of screened baggage and ship stores for cruise ships. This will include procedures that you need to know to perform your job and do your part to ensure the security of the passengers, facility, vessel, and yourself at all MARSEC levels. A drill is a training event that tests a part of a security plan to ensure a high level of security readiness. We have all participated in fire drills. They test the workings of fire alarm systems and evacuation plans. Likewise, a security training drill tests the workings of a particular facility security system and assesses the performance of the mechanical systems and employee response. An exercise is a broader training event that involves several functions of a security plan. This will test communications, coordination, resource availability, and response of all involved groups.
Think of an exercise as a simultaneous drill of several security functions.
You may be asked to participate in various drills and exercises. Take your role in these drills and exercises very seriously. Learn from them and report any problems you may encounter to ensure better performance the next time or in the event of a TSI.
As we've seen, port facilities are taking measures to increase security.
While fences, cameras, and security personnel do a good job in providing security, your help is essential. Here's how you become a key player. New equipment to detect dangerous substances and devices is being introduced into marine facilities, but such machines cannot do the job alone.
Be observant and ask yourself questions. It might be unnatural at first, but the answers to your questions will detect problems.
You may ask, does it look like someone is concealing a weapon on their person or in their baggage? Has someone left unattended baggage? Is someone in the area without appropriate credentials? Does the cargo look like it has been tampered with? Are the container seals in place? Are the door hinges secure? Does it look like the container has been breached or are materials leaking from it? Be extra cautious around hazardous materials. The Department of Transportation requires specific safety and security training to work with this type of cargo. Report any unauthorized individuals seeking access to hazmat. If your job involves verifying the delivery of hazmat, is all the paperwork in order?
If something does not appear to be right, it may be nothing, or it may be a potential TSI. Report such incidents immediately.
Dangerous people are responsible for terrorist acts. Learn and know how these people operate. Report any suspicious activity of which you are aware. Your information could save lives and property. Unauthorized filming or photography of the facility or vessels should be reported immediately. Be wary of unaccompanied strangers who do not belong on the facility. Do you know the person asking you questions about the cargo, passengers, or vessel? Does this person appear agitated or nervous? Are they wearing layers of clothing or otherwise concealing something on their body? Are they carrying something? Is this person recovering objects from or tossing objects into the water? Are people or objects being transferred between vessels? Do you see unexplained signaling from the shore to a vessel or a vessel to the shore?
You have a sense for what is right and what isn't. Don't ignore it. Report it.
Those people who wish to do our nation harm use many different techniques to take advantage of our freedoms. Some may be forceful, using armed intruders or brute force to ram through barriers or fencing. Others may seek entry onto a facility through a waterside approach. Be conscious of activity from the waterside. Look for openings in perimeter fencing and do not ignore any monitoring alarms that sound. The more subtle ways of penetrating a secure environment involve presenting false documents, creating diversions, or taking advantage of friendly facility personnel who just want to be helpful. The marine facility is simply not the place to let your guard down. Be polite but suspicious of strangers seeking entry or asking questions about how the facility operates. Never do favors for anyone seeking access.
Here is a list of things you can do to help in keeping our nation's ports secure.
Obtain, display as required by the facility, and carry at all times appropriate facility identification. Never loan or give your facility identification to anyone. Park in designated parking areas only. Register your vehicle if the facility requires it. Be careful about where you leave personal property you may bring onto the facility. Do not leave any personal property unattended anywhere. Be observant and ask questions. Report suspicious activity. Note changes in routine security or the lack of usual security. Keep away from restricted areas where you are not supposed to be. Know your workplace's incident response plan. Know what to do in an emergency. Participate fully in drills and exercises. Know and comply with the procedures for each MARSEC level. Do not take action into your own hands. Seek assistance. Follow instructions. As you have seen, all of us have some role in protecting this nation's ports. The more eyes and ears we have working for us, the safer we are.
Utilize what you have learned today on the job every day. Keeping your awareness and guard up will make us a less attractive target and ultimately enhance maritime security for our entire nation. Remember, we're counting on you.